Quality Road, proving Lane's End's tried and true stallion making formula, a formula that leads to success for our partners and our stallions. Before siring $1 million yearling at the Keeneland September sale, Quality Road sired Breeders' Cup and Royal Ascot winners in his first crop and was one of only 4 sires to produce multiple 2-year-old G1 winners in 2016, including Abel Tasman, 4-time Grade 1 and Kentucky Oaks winner. Quality Road, a stallion that stands above the rest.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Burney are taking a look at Pegasus World Cup contender and likely post-time favorite, Accelerate. Our Pegasus World Cup coverage is presented by Lane's End, and that's where Accelerate's heading after the Pegasus World Cup. He will stand his first season at stud at Lane's End for a $20,000 stud fee. And what can you say about Accelerate? Far and away the best handicap horse in 2018. He only lost one time. That was to City of Light, who was also in the Pegasus World Cup field. But boy, other than that, masterfully handled by John Sadler, fast races, dominant performances, and he capped it off with this race in the Breeders' Classic. And boy, what a season he had.
Really, I mean, you go through, everyone talks about the unprecedented campaign of Justify, and deservedly so. This is a pretty unprecedented campaign here for Accelerate, winning the Santa Anita Handicap, the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, the Pacific Classic, and then capping it off here with the Breeders' Cup Classic, all those races at 10 furlongs. Like you say, Sadler did a tremendous job with this horse, had him right when he needed to be right. And again, I mean, if he shows up with his best race, I think it's pretty clear, maybe with the exception of City of Light, the best race from Accelerate is better than anyone else's best.
Came a neck away from being a perfect 7 for 7 in 2018, 10 lifetime victories, almost $6 million in earnings. John Sadler trains. Joel Rosario will get a leg up once again in the Pegasus World Cup. And perhaps this horse's greatest attribute, other than his consistency, is his tactical speed. Rosario can place him wherever you need him to be within the context of a race. And I think, well, we're still very early before the post position draw. You give this horse a good post position, he's going to work out a good trip. You've got speeds like City of Light and pattern recognition. Accelerate's the kind of horse that I could see tucking into a great spot, sitting 3rd or 4th with every chance when the real running starts.
Yeah, no question about it. I agree with that. I mean, you can look at it and say he works out a trip similar to the one he did in the Breeders' Cup Classic, similar to the one he did in the Pacific Classic, like you say, sitting off of a couple of horses. Now, look, the other thing to keep in mind, if you're a backer of Accelerate, he's not going to be the most visually impressive horse from a riding standpoint, because Rosario is going to have to get the work on him. This is the kind of horse that needs to be ridden a little bit. So when he starts pushing him along with at the half mile, don't be too concerned. The horse is usually going to come with his effort after that. But I agree with you. The fact that he's not dependent on having one sort of running style, I think goes a long, long way, especially in a race like this.
So many triple-digit Beyer speed figures on this horse's resume. You could argue his worst race recently would be among the fastest races that these horses have run. We did notice a little bit of a dip in the Beyer speed figures in his last 2 starts. Was it simply a situation of pace? Was it a situation of him getting maybe a little bit tired after a long season? Or are we expecting an Accelerate to rebound to a 110 or 115? And if that's the case, they're probably not going to beat him.
Well, I think that's kind of the question that you as the handicapper need to make the call on, because do you think that there is a scenario where, although he has just continued to rattle off victories, is he getting a little bit sort of, let's say, was he getting tired at the end of the year? Because like you say, the fact that he got the job done, I think that just goes to show how good the horse actually is. But it's hard to ignore the fact that he had rattled off some big, big figures. And the last 2 were arguably 2 of the lighter ones in his entire 2018 campaign, despite the fact that it came in his biggest race. So we'll find out. To be honest with you, if he runs a 105 or a 110, I think he's right there at the wire. To be frank, I think there's only 1 or 2 other horses that can run a race that fast. And if they don't show up with it, but Accelerate does, I think Accelerate wins.
What price do you need? He was 5-2 in the Breeders' Cup Classic when a popular winner. I could see him at 9-5, 2-1. I'm not sure I'd want to go too much shorter, but you could make the argument, considering his consistency and ability, 9-5 or 2-1 is fair, even in this big field.
Yeah, very fair. I wouldn't go any less than that, because I think there's one other horse that I'm really intrigued with. But the idea of him at 2-1, a horse that has won basically every big race there was to win for older horses last year. He traveled, he shipped out of California successfully. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. I think this is a situation where if you can get 2-1, you take it.
Super season for Accelerate in 2018. And he's going to try to replicate Gunrunner's performance in the Pegasus World Cup from last year as he heads off to stud in 2019. He will begin his season at Lane's End for $20,000 stud fee, and our Pegasus World Cup coverage is presented by our friends at Lane's End.